Okay, welcome back everybody. B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natziach. We're doing Simcha from the Rabanu BeChaye. As the days get shorter, we get less sunshine. It's always good to have a boost of Simcha. So, in the second paragraph in the Rabanu BeChaye, in his fascinating work, he says, "V'zeu she'izkir Shlomo or sadikim yismach." The light of sadikim makes them happy. This is in Mishlei 13. So he says the soul of the sadikim is compared to light. Lefi she'ulukacha misham univret imo biyom harishon. Because actually, I never knew this. That's a very interesting question. The soul of sadikim, it's part of what God created on the first day. You understand? Right? The first day Hashem created light and darkness. So the neshama of sadikim,
it's part of that light.
It's part of that light, which is a very spiritual light. Uba lomar ki nefesh hasadiki simcha b'maasa mitzvot. See, what came first, the chicken or the egg? This is actually a fascinating machlekes between the misnagdim and the chasidim. Rabanu Nachman Mibreslev says that, mitzvah gedola lios besimcha. So the Nesiva says, he argues on him. He says, and it's mashma like that truly from here. So you have the Hasidic way that's happy-go-lucky. Like, the fact that I was born a Jew, we're happy. Has nothing necessarily... The Nesiva begs to argue that no, since we're engrossed in learning Torah or doing mitzvos, right? That brings the simcha. Now, it happens to be that Rabanu BeChaye is mashma more like in this specific paragraph, in this specific point and juncture, is mashma more like what the Netivot was saying. Why? Because he says, why are tzaddikim full of light and happiness? Because they're always engaged in doing Torah and mitzvos, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be our third shir, the Dvar Torah on the Parsha, Yaakov Avinu, which is Yisrael, right? We're named after Yaakov, which his name becomes Yisrael. He, Ish Tam Yoshev Alim, right? What was his hallmark? He's the personification of learning Torah. Abram was the personification of Chesed, like we said last week, remember?
Yes.
Yitzchak was Din, self-control, and being very serious about your mission in life and having self-control. And then Yaakov Avinu is for sure Zer Anpin, it says in the Zohar. He's Tiferet. He's the perfect mixture of both. And why? Because he has Torah, the Chokhmah Binah Dat. So he says that Rishayim's soul is considered like only a light of a candle. Why? Because there's a world of difference. And the title of today's class perhaps should be Spiritual Happiness versus Instant Gratification from Materialism. The light of the sun will never go out, right? It's an eternal sun. It's been going on for thousands of years. But a candle, even the longest candle in the world, right?
Yeah, has an end life.
So Rabanu BeChaye is saying, Lefi she'en reshayim semechim b'simchat hanefesh. What makes the Russia happy? Unfortunately, only materialism. You get what I'm saying? And so, just like as you get older, your body starts to get less and less strong.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a limit to how much physical pleasure you could have. So he says, just like when even the most beautiful oil wick candle, which has the most glorious olive oil, When the oil, the fuel is gone and the wick is burnt out, it's gone.
That's it.
Right? But that's in stark difference with Sadiqim, that their whole essence is or. Because they're like the light of the sun, which is the eternal light. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because God is eternal. So since their source of happiness is from the spiritual, from the Torah, which Yisrael ve'araisa v'kudsha b'richochatu, right? Which is coming from godliness. And we see this, unfortunately. How many different actors commit suicide and overdose on drugs. They have every single pleasure possible. They have unlimited sexual pleasure, unlimited physical pleasure, any lust and desire they have. But the problem is they get burnt out, just like a candle gets burnt out, right?
Wow.
And that's why I saw many years ago, maybe 20-some years ago, there was this, like, at that time, a guy that was one of the richest people in Atlanta. He became Choser B'Tshuva, and he was listing, like, you know, he said, how many mansions and sports cars can I buy? But it's still not satisfying me. And that's why it's unfortunately, Rabbeinu BeChaye says here, the whole reason that God punishes us, it says in Parshat Kitavo, is because we didn't serve Hashem with happiness. Which means if we're doing a half-baked job, we're not serving Hashem properly, or it's like a burden. And instead of doing it with enthusiasm, then Chas v'Shalom, Hashem gets very mad. Because the essence of Torah is like the light of the sun, right? And mitzvahs, that it's everlasting. So this is something very important. That's why it's very important every morning when we daven to say, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu, many parts in Shacharit. And right now we're going to do Arbit soon. It says, right? V'nismach v'na'alois b'divrei Toratecha, mitzotecha l'olam va'ed, right? We have to realize how lucky we are. We saw that unfortunately in this week's Parsha, Esav chose the path of instant gratification, right? But we're so lucky that we have a real, authentic happiness and content that makes us godly and noble, rather than their pleasure is like a pig.
Like animals.
Yeah, it's an animalistic pleasure, and it's just easy come, easy go. It's never enough, and then unfortunately it leads to more crazy and radical, and
it's going to be more and more depraved.
Yeah, more and more depraved, and then they, I don't want to go into the details, but they just come out with these more and more outrageous and crazy, like, for example, since their soul is not getting nourished, because make no mistake, the only thing that could make the neshama, the soul, even the soul of a goy, happy, is a relationship with his Father in heaven, through his commitment to Torah and mitzvos. So may Hashem help us to realize that God demands of us that we should constantly be engaged in learning Torah and mitzvahs and mitzvot, and this should bring us eternal and real, authentic simcha, happiness and joy, versus the physical that's so fleeting, and it's easy come, easy go, and it gets burnt out like.
How do you say fleeting in Farsi?
Oh man.
Like it just goes away.
Oh, okay.
It's just like the wind.
Oh, okay.
So Hashem should be mezakas to true, authentic simcha, like or sadikim yismach.